All right, guys, it has happened. I'm so excited to announce that my novel, Transcendence, is officially released. This is a Christian fantasy novel, the second book in the Creativity Stone series. This Christian fantasy novel follows Joshua and Namid as they step into the world that Dedecus has created with the Creativity Stone. They have to go through the 6 layers of Transcendence, Dedecus's world, trying to rescue him and snap him out of his delusions of grandeur as they battle crazy monsters and creatures and face old and new enemies, psychological warfare, avalanches, and worst of all, Smith. You'll see when you read the book. I absolutely loved writing this book because I got to explore all of the chaos and possibilities that could happen with Dedicus creating his own world, his image, and really explore thematically, tackle the question of what makes us different from God. Why do we still need God? And why is his plan better than our own? And so I have these deep questions related to the nature of God and his purpose in our lives and what the nature of hope looks like for these characters as they're going through all these trials and craziness. I did not make it easy for Joshua or Namid, but their story is complex and engaging and a wild ride. Every single page has crazy fantasy action, deep emotions, and deep exploration of faith and what it actually looks like to follow God. This is a story that, as I was writing it, I myself was challenged with answering those questions of, in our own world, we have scientific advancements and technology that allows us to do things that in the past would have been left into the realm of God, where we had to actually seek for him and pray for things. Now, though, with money and success and technology and science and all of these things, we don't have to rely on God as much for many things. That's not to say that science and technology are negative or not good. However, ultimately, we still have to rely on God. We cannot replace God with our own humanity. And while obviously this is a Christian fantasy setting, and this character, Dedicus, has this creativity stone that gives him the power of creation, which isn't as limitless as first suspected, but he has some pretty insane powers. And yet, why do we still need God? Why does he still need God? And we're going to explore whether he really can repent and turn back to God. And for Joshua and Namid, they are risking their lives and going on this insane journey, all because they believe that God has called them into that world and called them to change things and make a difference in their old friend's life. Meanwhile, back on Novatas, Adia, Dawn, Sharon, and the others are facing all their own crazy battles with the storms that continue to rage on Novatas. And they're left with the question of if they can even survive on Novatas when a particular tragedy strikes, putting one of our main characters in a situation where they'll never be the same. And if you're wondering what I'm talking about, well, you'll have to read the book. This is a story of epic action where you really don't know what's going to happen next as Joshua and Namid travel through all of these different layers and face different aspects of Dedicus's personality and creativity. They start out in the garden layer, where there's some plant creatures that will not make things easy for them. Another layer is a almost cyberpunk layer where Namid has to make a high-risk gamble to get some information. There is a mountain layer where Joshua has to brave the elements and outrun an avalanche. And those are just a few of the layers and challenges that Joshua and Namid are going to have to face. While I love the action and I love the depth to the story, one of my favorite parts was exploring more of the characters and their motivations. Joshua is this reluctant hero that does not want to be in all of this chaos. He just would much rather stay hiding in his room, and yet has been thrust into these situations because he believes that God has called him to reach out to his friend, the very same friend that is responsible for his parents' deaths. He would much prefer avoiding all of the reckless adventures that he and Namid are going on, and yet he is dragged on them anyways. Meanwhile, Namid is the graceful fighter. She has the heart of a dancer and the soul of a warrior who moves through life with quiet strength. She is firm upon her convictions, and yet as she travels deeper into the layers of transcendence, she discovers that there is much more hidden behind her surface than even she realized. And Dedecus has a few tricks up his sleeve that will expose things about Namid that not even she will admit to herself. And Dedecus is the fallen dreamer. He was once an orphan who was desperate for a home and rejected by everyone and not defended by the very friends that he trusted. And then he took the creativity stone in the first book, Downfall, and now he is a self-proclaimed god who has created his own world, Transcendence, in which his people are shaped by his virtues and his personality. He is a reckless force of destruction, but inside he is an orphan with a pained and hurting heart, although he will never admit that to anyone. And as Joshua and Namid travel deeper into Transcendence, Dedecus must face a question that he has been avoiding since he first took the stone. Is he willing to sacrifice his childhood friends in order to preserve his world, or will he allow them to destroy everything that he has built in his immersive creation? Some other characters involved. Dawn fans rejoice because he will be returning as well, and he will have much more to do in the sequel. He is the steady hand and source of wisdom for Namid and Joshua. Yet at the same time, he carries the weight of his village on his shoulders. Even with his doubts and insecurities, he's always willing to step up and do what's needed to be done. But in book 2, he's going to face much more than he bargained for, and face a trial unlike anything he's ever experienced, where God will ask him to give up something that he's taken for granted, and he will have to make a choice on whether or not to continue to rejoice. We'll also see Adia again, who is the protector of the lost. She has faced her whole life battling depression and emptiness, where she has carried the weight of her own failures and her parents' expectations on her. Now she has been thrust into a new situation where she is the caretaker for 27 orphan children. She never thought she'd be able to be a mother, and now is expected to care for the most vulnerable and lost in Fida's village. She will be the first to admit that she does not have any of the answers, and yet she is still willing to stand up and embrace this new role for her. And yet, just as she starts to become comfortable with her new position, an old friend comes along with another challenge for her that'll test her newfound confidence. Then we have Sharon, who is no nonsense, no wasted words, and no time for stupidity. She is the blunt one of the group, who is very annoyed with everyone involved. Honestly, I love writing the character of Sharon. She's not going to be anyone's favorite character, but everyone needs someone in their life who is able to make the direct and hard calls, even at the expense of hurting other people's feelings. And Sharon is the perfect character to do that. And there will be many hard calls to make in Transcendence. And then, of course, we have Emeth, everyone's favorite character, who is ready to return and give some sage advice and insight to our main characters. Yes, in this book, Joshua and Namid will finally meet Emeth, because in book 1, Emeth came along and changed things for Stephen and for Adia, but now in book 2, Joshua and Namid are going to meet Emeth, and they will not be the same afterwards. In addition to those characters, I have a handful of new ones that I'm excited for you all to meet. I won't spoil anything, but they're delightful, and I introduce you to one of those characters that I never planned to write, and then they kind of steal the show and just become a delightful character that I want to explore more because I've had such a fun time with them. This character is a fun one, and I can't wait for you to meet him. Alright, so what are you waiting for? Go buy Transcendence. It's out now. You can order both Downfall and Transcendence on Amazon or at my website, calebwardauthor.com. These books show the epic story of faith, suffering, redemption, and truth in the high stakes and wild worlds of Novatas and Transcendence. And this is a story that you will not want to miss out on.